So how are you guys feeling today? I had to change from Sunday to Saturday because this Sunday is Mother's Day, and I'm sure my mother will not like if I spend my whole day on the stream. So my bitrate is not the best today. Like sort, echo, cat, the good stuff. And get a little bit of grep before we go to Vim and actually editing text in the command line. Let's see what else. And after I get that done, I'm going to jump to the network and services part. I mean, we're going to install um, Apache and get the web server working. I think it's supposed to be doing here the node key. I think I just terminated my server from last week, so I have to create a new one. So let's just get that done. It was kind of a busy week, so didn't have that much time to get through preparation here. Let's just Ubuntu 2204 shared CPU node. Just getting that done. Yeah, bitrate is getting better. But before I start anything, how you guys been doing this week? Was the second week of the challenge more challenging, or it was just okay? quite okay. Yeah, I think that month, this month is the month, Scarix. You're going to finish, I'm sure. Yeah, only weekends. We do what with the time that we have, right? Nice. Yeah, I'm just finishing setting up the server because I did not do that before. Yay. Okay, now it's good. Doing things like sudo, sudo bang bang, push t, find, Kate. Yeah, simple bits. You're going to add up, and they are going to saving a little bit of time here and there. When you see you're already a sysadmin doing all the stuff. Good progress, Carix. So I am going to. Did I? Did not. So I just spin up a um, new server, but I'm just thinking if I'm going to use this server now or if I'm going to use the other jump box that I have before. I'm probably going to use that. Um, just double check. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it. It's going to take a little bit of effort today to go through all the things that I want to go through, but I'm already cutting stuff in my head, so no, this is not going to work. But yeah, um, as you haven't noticed, I'm not really a streamer. I'm just streaming for the challenge, and I'm learning a little bit every day. So sometimes I have a good a good preparation done, but sometimes that doesn't happen. I work full time, so I have to chill out every now and then. Yeah, I think I'm not going to use this now. I'm going to use the other one that I already have. It's okay. Oh, it was a mess, man. I mean, I was pretty tired. I finished my work for the day, and I jumped straight into the streaming. So there was no preparation at all. I just started the stream and hope for the best. But at least it was just one day at a time. It was not several days like we're doing this for the weekends. I have to concatenate several days in one stream, and that takes more than a couple of hours. And probably I'm not going to do that again every day. Only for it was for just 1 or 2 hours max, and with not that much of commitment. I mean, if I need to step out for a while, I'm going to step out. Thanks so much. It was an effort. Okay, so I'm going to get this started. We're already running the time, and we talked a little bit about um, tab completion. And if you already noticed, while I'm working here, I have this little tool to so you guys can see what I'm doing with my keyboard, so you can see the key bindings that I'm using now. uh, because I want to show you guys a couple of tricks that you can use on the command line. The first week was for you to get your server set up and get the basics done. I mean, we worked with the directory structure. We created directories and files, and we uh, move them around, remove it. We talk a little about sudo and what was privilege for sudo, and what is the baseline of who can do what in your server. Uh, Obviously, we got more than a little, just a little bit of SSH on how to connect to your server. We're going to talk a lot about a little bit more about the connections if today later on when we get to the networking stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into networking, but at least the little bits and pieces uh, uh, of how to hardening a little bit your server, and get the basics of how can you understand how your server connects to other stuff. That's what we're going to do. But before we get to that, I want to show what is basically what when we think of Linux, or when we think of command line and a Unix and all the black screen stuff, we think of those tricks. I mean, you see someone just typing stuff and it's super fast and you don't understand why is that. I'm going to show some things that are going to improve your speed in the command line, and also a few of the main um, command line tools that we use for working in the server. I already used that field, but I didn't really explain them before in the last week. But we're going to show them now. Okay, we talk a little bit about the tab completion, and this is one of the main things that are really good. This is one of it's an element of Bash, especially. You're not going to see that in SH specifically, but you're probably going to see that in Fish and Z shell or Oh My Z shell, the other shells that we have available. Uh, what tab completion really do is that you can start to type a command. For example, I want mk. I want to create a directory. So I can start with mk, and instead of typing everything like mkdir, I can just start typing and hit tab, and it's going to give me a little beep. It's not going to finishing right away because we probably have other options. But if I do another tab, you see all the options that I have of commands that start with mk, for example. So I want mkdir. So if I finish typing, you see that when I have the list, it gets back for to where I started, right? So if I give it another tab, okay, give me the list. I can keep doing this, and if there's no other options with the that same start of the command, it's going to complete that for me. So it completed for mkdir. I can create a new directory, and that's it. Okay. It's also good for complete other options, or to when I'm going through the directory structure, and for example, I want to go from the root directory. And okay, what else can I do? You see that I use two tabs. The first tab just give me a blip. Okay, we have options. It's not just one option. We have options. Another tab, it gives me a list. So here we have a list of possible other directories inside the root directory. So I want to see etc, that I'm complete. You see that I just put et and tab and complete it for me. And what else can I go? I want to see SSH. What else? I have SSH and I have SSL. So I have to complete that. Another tab. I have a bunch of stuff inside. So, okay, SSH config or SSHD config. I have two directories that I can go in. I want SSH config D. And that's it. Because I'm changing directories. If I just want to show a file, let me get back. If I just want to list, and I already show another little trick, the Control L. Control L is to clear the screen. So I have a bunch of stuff and I want to clear to start over, so you can see from the beginning of the start of the line. I use a Control L. I clear the screen. So let's use here ls, and I want to do that again. I want etc ssh, and since we have more options than just doing ls, so I'm going to see not only directories, I'm going to see also files. So you see that I have a bunch of stuff, and I want to see ssh config, just ssh config. But if I wanted to see the directory, sshd, you see where I'm going with this? The tab, I don't know exactly what is next. Instead of going go to the directory, ls, see the options, and then go to the next directory in ls and see the options, I can do that interactively with the tab completion. So that was what we did. But this is in Bash. Okay, if I change to sh, that is another shell, and I can see that from echoing my shell. You see that I was in Bean Bash, but I changed that. This is not echo shell. What was that? What was that? What was? Let's use then. Let's try to use the type completion here. You see that it doesn't go. It just adds tab, tap, tap, tap. It just go inside the screen. So that's the problem here. With sh in specific. Come on. Yeah, I got out. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm bash. Bash again. So I can use the type completion. So that was for the type completion. Pretty simple, right? We're going to use that a lot. One of the things that frustrates me most is when I get to a shell that doesn't have type completion, and that happens for it doesn't matter if it's Linux FreeBSD or it's a BSD based system like we have on Juniper or things like Cisco or other kinds of system that are not really Linux, and they have a specific shell for them. If it doesn't have type completion, it gets me sad because type completion really saves you a lot of time of figuring out if you're doing the right stuff. Okay, so we already showed Control L for clean your screen. If we have this is a line of text. This is nothing that is going to be really valid to put on the command line, but it's going to show how to navigate between. Let me just get this a little bit bigger. I think it's not big enough. Yeah, that is good. So I just put this on a line of a text on my command line, and I'm on the end of the line, but if I want to change something in the beginning of the line, I can use Ctrl A, and it's going to jump to the beginning of the line. If I want to go to the end of the line again, Ctrl E is going to the end of the line. Let's see what else. If I'm inside and I want to go to the word before the cursor, I can use Ctrl W, and you see that I'm just I'm deleting stuff before the cursor. If I wasn't supposed to be doing that, I can use Ctrl Y, and it's going to get the text back. It's kind of an undo, but what I just did was to cut that piece of text, and with the Y, the Ctrl Y, I just paste that piece of text that I just cut it. So it was kind of stored in a buffer, and I just put it back. Okay. What else? What else? What else? And if I really, really want to undo something, I mean, I deleted this part of the line. If anyone really want to undo, I can use Control underline. You see, it's going to be just piece by piece. Okay, two little tricks. If I want to cut everything before the cursor, I can use Ctrl U. I'm going to clear everything. And if I want to cut anything after the cursor, I can use Ctrl K. So if you have a really long line, for example, I want to take this little part out and substitute with something else, you can just use Ctrl K, or you can go and use Ctrl U if you want to take the first part. And if I want to really apply that, you see how is a cut is not just a delete. I cut that little piece and I paste it at the end of the line. So you can change stuff and go around instead of using the mouse. I'm not using the mouse for this, it's just keyboard. And that's it. Right, so Control L, Control A, Control E, Control U, Control K, Control W, Control Y, and Control underscore. If I want to search, do a search in my history, and that's the part when we talk about history. Because if you use the command history, it's going to show us everything that was that we inputted on our command line at some point. But if I wanted to, instead of showing the history and going through the list, because if you have the list, what you can do, I want to redo, for example, I want to redo the line, and that's when we use the bang or the exclamation point. I want to redo the line 618. I can just do this. It's going to show me that same line. It's going to put here what was the line of the command line that was for the 618, and it's going to execute that again. If I just want to do, for example, if I just want to do the last one, that is just the bang bang. Bang bang is like I'm using the exclamation point less -1 because it's my line, the one above me. Or I can just use bang bang. That is the same. We already talked about bang bang for using sudo. If I'm doing a line of text here, a command line that I needed privilege to really execute that. It's going to, for example, I want to cat etc password. Why is it doing that? It shouldn't be doing that. Shadow. Shadow is not going to do. Yeah, permission denied. Because I'm not executing that with privilege. So instead of just, I can just go back and I can use the arrow keys to go up, and you're gonna see a lot of people doing that. I do that all the time. But instead of going up and going to the beginning of the line and putting sudo here, you can just use sudo to execute the last line. So that's what happened. Ooh. Okay. We talk a little bit about history. So instead of just listing the history and seeing what is the line that I want to do, I can just search through the history with Control R, and I'm doing a reverse search, and I want something that was when was the last time I did anything with the password file? Here it is. You see, it doesn't have to be the first part of the command. It could be any point of the command. So I don't remember what I did with that file, but I know it was that file, or it was a file that started with that string. Here we go. And if I don't want to execute that, I can just Control C, is going to cancel that execution. Or if I have something that is really... Do I have 3 here? I don't have. Don't have. That one is a good one. This is another good one. Okay. If I have a command that is going to 3, that is going to be executing a long time. For example, this one is going. I can stop that with Control C. Sometimes it's not on the first, but it's going to interrupt the execution of a command. It's going to halt that command. Okay. But if instead of that, I want to just put that command in the background, it's still going to be executing even if I'm not seeing it. I can use Control Z, and it's going to take a while. And you see that it stopped, but it told me what happened. To see the status of that that command that we stopped, we can put that back on the foreground, but I believe it's already done. We can use jobs to see it. You see that it was stopped. I stopped it and put it in the background. I did not halt the command. Okay, I just stopped it. So jobs is going to show me that I have one stopped command. If I want to put that back again, I can use foreground 1, because 1 is the ID for that, and it's going again. Okay, so far so good. And let's halt this. So I wanted to really emphasize that little bit because I use Control C, Control Z quite a lot when I'm executing something that is going to really flood my stream, flood my screen. So that's one thing. I didn't want to do that, so you can halt the command with Control C. Okay. What else? Control C. Oh, and for the search, you can also cancel that with Control G if you want. It's going to, is instead of halting the search, you're kind of finishing it. You're just getting out of it gracefully. Okay. But if you don't remember Control G, Control C is going to work just fine. Okay. So we used Control L, Control A, E, R, U, K, W, Y, N underscore. We just halted and put it on the background, just stop it. The commands for C with Control C and Control Z or Control Z. If I want to get out of my server, obviously we already saw that we can use exit, but I can also use a key binding for that. I can use Control D and I'm out. So I'm getting back. Come on. And Control L to clear screen again. Okay. Let me see another stuff. Oh yeah, this one I didn't know until recently. You can see the system variables that are the... We're going to talk a little bit more about variables, but you can see the variables by using the $ and tab, and it's going to show me all the system variables. Isn't that neat? I like that. It's pretty neat, pretty interesting. System variables that show us a history we have the history file, we have the history size, and the history file size. So we're going to see for the come on. Yeah, it was a little slow. We can echo, and I'm going to talk about now echo in a minute. History, where is my all of my command lines being stored in this file, bash history. So I can, what I see here is basically the same thing that I see here. Instead, I'm seeing with line, with the line indication. Actually, I can do that. What I'm doing, but I'm going to show you later on. Okay. What else? I'm going to, and of course, I can also see the history file size is 2000 lines, and the history size is 1000 lines. So I'm going to have much more information in the file for history than what is on the buffer for history, for the history command. Okay, that's what's going to show me on screen is going to be about 100 not 1000 lines. I don't have 1000 lines yet. Wow. And this can be changed. Okay, you can expand that. Those are the limits, but you can change those limits. And if you don't want to store any history, you can put that to a minimum if you want. But if you do that, you're not going to be able to use the bang bang and all of the history search capabilities that we just saw. Okay. So we got through with tab completion, a little bit of key binding, what of the combination of keys that we can use, history, and we can now start to talk a little bit of about the command line tools that we use a lot. The first that you already saw me using is echo. That is for printing text. Basically, I can print text. I don't even have to put it in my text. Okay, so it's going to print that text. It's familiar. It's kind of like a print F. It also work, but it's not really in the same context. You see that it doesn't really understand the entire thing. I have to put into the information, and I don't have the line break that I have with echo. Printf is used sometimes in scripts a little bit more. Okay, so they are pretty similar, but they have different capabilities. You're going to use echo a lot because with echo we can also show the contents of the environmental information. So the variables for the environment, like we use, for example, user is Ubuntu, or like pwd, because what pwd does is doing this. It's the same thing. Okay, we just have a little program that do that. Okay, so if I want to see those environmental variables, of course there was that little trick, but usually we're going to use export It's going to show me everything that is declared in this session. It's going to be all around, but you see the pwd is here. We got the shell. We got the home directory. We got the user. It's going to the information for ls callers. This is going to be being declared here. But if I want a little bit more information, I can use printf. You see that is a different type of putting on the screen for you, and it's not going to show everything in the same way. Okay, but we still have here user Ubuntu. We have here what is it? We have user, we have pwd, we have shell, we have home, we have the lang. And we can set or unset variables as well. So if I want to create a variable for me now, I can set, for example, I can set the variable. Let's create a variable. Or my var, and it's going to be okay. I set the variable, and I can echo that variable, and it didn't go through. It didn't get through. So I'm going to just see if it's got in. I don't think so. Come on, you should be here. It's not going to be one of this. I'm pretty sure. This is our just system variables. Yeah, I should export that. For set and unset is going to be for variables that are being used by the system. Okay, so let me just no TLDR set instead of trying to remember everything. Yeah, for the shell variables. The set mark variables. Set existence counter, and if you look at man, no, it's info set. These help set. Hey Krishna, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Yeah, the set is for these guys. Okay. Shell options in positional parameters. To use a different kind of variable, we use export then. And now I can use like my var and call Linux rules. Not a valid. What did I do wrong? Yeah, it was supposed to be tomorrow, but we just got it earlier because of Mother's Day. It's going to be recorded anyway, so you can check out the first part later if you want. So I'm digressing here on that part of the variables. Still a lot that I want to cover. Let me get through. We got echo. We got a little bit of the export, and let's talk a little bit about the data streams. Okay, so everything that I put on the command line is going to be the standard input that is going to be processed by any command that I call on my command line. And I have two options. If everything goes okay, I'm going to receive the output that I supposed to receive on the standard output that is my screen. If there's some kind of error, is going to the standard error output that sometimes is going to be on the screen, but I can redirect that to a file if I want. Actually, everything I can be redirected. Standard output or standard error can be redirected. We call the standard input and as our $0 and the standard output as our $1 is our one variable, and the standard error as $2. So if I want to redirect, and now I'm talking about the redirections. If I want to do something that is going to create an error, for example, which one was that? Yeah, it was cat etc shadow. That created an error. You see, that wasn't nice. If I don't want to see any errors, for example, when I use find, and this is I'm going to show. This is on day 11 or something. With a name like potato. You see that I got a lot of permission denied. Those are errors because they are trying to find stuff in directories that are not. I do not have the privilege to look into as a standard user. So instead of having that polluting my screen, I can redirect that by using 2. You see that the 2 is the standard error. I can redirect that to, for example, devnull. That is nowhere. Devnull is the is the black hole of Linux. It doesn't exist. It's like saying into the void. So if I don't want to see the errors, I can redirect to devnull. And that is the point that I wanted to make. This little guy here, the more than sign, or they have another name like angle brackets, is going to direct that stream of data to somewhere that I wanted to go. So it could be another, for example, I can send this to the actual standard output. So it's going to do what it was doing anyway. That was the default behavior. Or I can send that to nowhere, or I can send that to a file. I can actually send that error to, for example, I can create error file. And if I look at that error file, all those errors were redirected inside that file. So you gotta see the redirection of anything from the data stream. I'm putting stuff in the standard input. I'm processing that through any of the tools that I have available. And I can redirect the standard output of that process, that processing. I can redirect that inside to another data stream, to a file, or to another program. So that's the beauty of redirecting, because you have a lot of little tools that do, well, one thing, but sometimes you want to aggregate or you want to combine different actions into the same processing of that text, for example. So you can combine uh, several tools in redirecting fashion, or you can send. I'm just talking about redirecting for now. That is just send the output to another place or get the output from whatever. But we can also use pipes to get the pipeline is going to be I'm sending an input to a program. It's going to process that. Whatever it processes is going to send to another program, and I can send to another program, and I can do my little train of several different programs doing that. There is a very good video from. Let me just get that here, because I really love that video. It's so good. My library, is it? Here. This is an awesome video from Brian Cunningham. That this guy is amazing explaining anything, but I'm getting that. Copy. Here he explains how the Unix pipeline works. It is pretty much what we're going to do here. We are redirecting stuff using first I'm just want to redirect, but I can use the pipeline to really just get the output of one program into another. The redirection is going to be send the output into a file, for example. So we use an echo. Let's continue to use echo. I want to echo my first line of text. Okay, if I just do that, it's going to, my standard output is the screen, but I can redirect that into a file. And let's see, my new file. So if I want to see the contents of a file, let's introduce another program. I can use cat to see the contents of a file, and you see that is my first line of text. If I want to add another information, I want another data stream to go there, I can, for example, let's echo my second line. And I wanted to put inside that my new file. The problem here is going to overwrite whatever I have there. So this is a problem. How do we get around this? So if I just give my first line, it's getting in the way. Get back here. And I wanted to put my second line appending. I want to append the second line instead of just using the angle bracket. I can use double angle bracket. So I'm appending another line of text there. So now I have two lines. So if you have a for example, you have a program that is going to be It's going to run every day at some time, and you want to put some status on a file. Instead of having the output of that program to just angle bracket, just one sign into the file, you want to append that, and you're going to create a little log. It's kind of the same idea. So that's it. If I want to echo, let's see if that works. I want to echo the contents of my file. Not going to do anything, but I can use that. Instead of that, I can. This is horrible. Okay, this is horrible. I'm going to echo, or whatever is the contents of my new file. You see, cat doesn't do that. So there's a little bit some rules for the redirection. You can add stuff from other programs inside. Instead of just doing that motion, you can do that motion on the reverse. But what I wanted to show besides that is pipe. So we use it echo and cat. Let's get a little bit more repertoire to work with, okay? So cat, we actually cat is for concatenate. We can see more than one file in the same standard output. So if I just go echo, and this is another one, and I put this on another file, and I wanted to put on my standard output, this screen, I want to see the contents of my file, okay, or I can see the contents of another file, that's okay, but I want to see both. I can put cat, my file, and another file, and it's going to concatenate the contents of both files in the same standard output. So that's kind of the idea behind cat, is to print and concatenate files. That's the main idea. So I can put the path for several files, and you can actually get that and redirect into another file if you want. You see? And why I talked about the standard input, standard output, standard error, because that's going to be referenced a lot. So I can get the actual standard input into yet another file. You see that it didn't clear out, the program isn't done. So I can start writing, put a bunch of stuff here. And to finish, Control C. So if I get cat yet another file, here we go. So we kind of combine two pieces of information that we just learned about the hot a command and concatenating using cat. So I can use, let's clear that. Get my file, another file, yet another file is going to put all of them in one string. Okay, so far so good. Okay, another brother of cat is stack. That is literally cat backwards. So I can do the same thing. Stack, new file, another file, yet another file. You see, it takes the first file, instead of doing my first line and my second line, it's going to do in reverse, my second line, my first line. another file, it was just one line, so it doesn't really matter. And yet another file is also in reverse. So you can concatenate, but you're going to do that in reverse. Okay. I don't see really a use for stack. I never really use it for something that was not to show how to use, to be fair. But another thing that it did not really talk that much about is bat or batcat. You have to install that to. You have to install. It's going to be sudo apt install bat. That's going to be your guy, okay? And if you use batcat, you can do the same thing. My new file, another file, yet another file. It's going to concatenate stuff, but you see the difference? It's a little bit, I don't know. It's prettier, I guess. So if you want some more complexity in your putting stuff on screen, batcat is another one. Okay, so we got through cat stack bat, and we concatenated stuff, right? So let's concatenate stuff again, and I want to put that into my cat file. So when I see my cat file, those are all of those lines, okay, from the 3 files. But if I have, especially if I have something that is big, I think I can do that here. Let's see. I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to do it 3, and I'm going to redirect that into my cat file. I want something that's going to be quite big. And if I look at my cat file, you see that, come on. Livia. You see that is 15 meg. It's quite big for just text. And if I do a cat on that, yeah, it goes on and on and on and on and on. It's big. So what can I do with cat? We concatenate files into one file if you want. We can concatenate and just put it on screen, or we can concatenate and put it on a file. But what is the reverse of that? I have a big file and I need to see pieces of it, and it's 15 meg is not that a problem, but I have this problem. This is real life experience. Receive a log file from a client, and it was huge, and I couldn't even open on my text editor to look at the file, to look at the logs. Sometimes I have to split the file so I can see it. So instead of the contrary of cat is going to be a split. If we look at what split do, split. It's going to split a file into pieces. So we can split every 10 lines, for example. So let's split I want to split into files that have 100 lines, okay, from my cat file. And this is going to create standard, several standard new split files. So you see that now I have, this is the standard name, okay? So you can see how big was that, right? This is for every 100 lines. This is a lot. So if I get any one of this, I'm just going to get an example. This is just 100 lines. And here is where I can use, for example, another tool that is WC. Is going to show me the amount of lines I have in a file. So this file have 100 lines. Again, what does WC do? Count lines, words or bytes. You can put -L for lines. You can put -W for words or for characters. And you can do all of that if you want. I want to count lines, words, and characters. It's going to give me everything. 100 lines, 880 words, and 7,969 characters. Okay, so we split so we can see better that. So if you use here split, TLDR split, those are the options. We can split into, for example, a number of files. Let me just remove all of that because that's a lot. I want to remove everything that starts with X. Okay, it's clear now. And so let's split that big file. Instead of files that have 100 lines, I want to split that into 5 new files. And it's going to try to split that equally. So we can see that we have here 5 files. So if we count the lines of the original file, original mycat file, you see that we have 237,000 lines. If we count the lines for XAA, for example, going to be just 51,000. So you see, it's quite different. You can split into files. You can split files with that much of lines. It's the opposing operation from cat, where we are concatenating stuff into a single file. Here we're taking a single file and split it out. Okay. We used WC to count. If you want to see from that same output, I want to see just the first 100 lines from the file. For example, I can use head. It's going to give me the first lines. And if I do not put anything as a parameter here, it's just going to take, I believe there's going to be 10 or 20 lines. Let's see. Head my cat. So that, and we can start to use pipe to get that output and put into another program. So I want to count those lines. Those are 10 lines. You see, we are getting, it's different from the redirecting. We are not redirecting actually the output. We're just getting that output and, okay, this is the output. Now I have another program. I'm going to work over that output. Okay. So we split, we had, if we want more than 10 lines, we have to put here the number of lines is going to be, for example, 20 for my cat file. So head in 20. Now I have 20, the first 20 lines. And that works as well for tail. that are the bottom of that file, the bottom lines. So I can use just tail is going to get me the last 10 lines, or I can use saying how much I want. I want 20 lines. And here we go. So head tail. There's one that is also very good. Let's use then, for example, this what I'm doing with WC with head and tail. I'm taking an output and I'm just kind of modifying the output. I'm filtering the output basically. I'm just want 10 lines from the beginning of the file, just want 10 lines from the end of the file. I go through the entire file and I say the information that I want is how many lines, how many characters, how many words. But I can also modify the way that I see stuff. For example, I have let's get it this. I want to see etc password. It's going to show me this in this format. It's not really readable, but you know that for each line we have the name of the user, even if it's a system user. I have a space that was supposed for the password. We have a few more information: the UID, the group ID, and the full name, the home directory, and the shell that is using. You can see that we have the separators between those fields. They are column. I'm using column to separate one field from the other, but it's just one straight line. I can see that used differently, more prettier, using column. Column is going to take that standard that input or file, it's going to put into multiple columns. I can put headers if I want, but you see that we use column mostly after we have something that is going to print out on the standard output. I can use printf or echo or cat or anything like that, and it's going to put me on a column. So I'm going to use column table, and the separator is going to be our column. So I can take that same command line, and I'm going to pipe that into column table. It's two or one? It's two. Table, and I'm going to use the separator. Going to use column. Okay, let's see if it you see it's a little bit more like a spreadsheet, like a real table. They are aligned. It's not that because I'm using a better format for my fonts. It's bigger, so it's going to take more of the screen. But you see that we redirected that, we piped that into column, and we modify the way that we format that information on the screen. Okay, if I want to take that information, we're just talking about separators, right? We can use separators in many different ways, and that's when we started transform text. Yeah, so it's a lot more readable, right? It's not just one straight line of a bunch of things. It's a lot more readable. You can use that when you are dealing with files that are like password, etc password. They have field delimitators. If the delimitator is just a space, and you know that each field is an entire word or doesn't have spaces in it, you can use that too. You can change. One good example is using with anything that you export as CSV is going to use the limitators that you use on the exporting, right? You can use column, you can use period, you can use comma, or whatever. You can use the delimitator that you use on a CSV file, right? This is practical. I have used that too. I receive log files, especially from databases. I want to see a database information so I can give a troubleshooting for the client. They can send me the result of a SQL query in CSV, and sometimes I can use everything on the query. Sometimes I do not need all of the columns of that table. So I can change that in the way that I'm formatting the output. And that's where cut goes in. I can cut using a delimitator, for example, that is column. And I want to see, for example, a field 1 and 2 from that etc password file. You see that we are just seeing the fields 1 and 2. And why is it called 1 and 2? Because we are using column as delimitator. And I can also, if I want, I can pipe that into column and put as a table and a separator. It's going to be column. And now we can see in a table format. Very readable. So if I look, this is something that is practical. If I look at etc password and I want the fields, for example, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to see what is the shell being used by each of my users. I can use that. You see, I'm using the arrow keys to go up and down, but I can change that, or we can use what we learned today, right? So I want to use cut, and I want to change that information to be 1 and 7. And now I can see the shell being used for each of my users. You see that most of my users are system users. They're not really users. But I have the information from them. They don't use a login, so that's why. But I can see that Livia and Ubuntu, they both use Vim Bash, for example. This is one information that I can pull from one file instead of just catting or just putting on the screen or just using less. You guys remember last from last week, right? We covered a little bit of last. It's going to be pagination. It's going to just get that that file and put it on a way that I can go up and down the pages. I have more pages. And I can do some searches inside of it. Just use the slash and I want to search for Livia. I know that I'm here and it's going to highlight the word that I'm searching for. This is using with less. It's going to be quite the same thing with more. But instead of using that and searching for stuff in a bunch of noise in your file, you can just filter the information and present to the standard output, or I can put that into another file if I want. I can redirect that into file password password table. I'm going to call it password table. So now I have password table somewhere here. Here, password table. If I want to see the contents of it, is the filtered output from that entire etc password. Is it here? One thing that is also interesting, you see that I put a quite a big command line here, and I just redirected, and I have to cat that after to see the contents. I actually do not have to use cat to do that. We can do in a different way using another operator. We use the angle brackets to redirect stuff. Okay, we use pipe, and we can also use T. T is like a T. Is going to get that information, the output to where you want it to go, but is also going to show you on the standard output. So instead of doing that, instead of using the angle bracket, I'm going to use, let me see if that's, I'm going to pipe T. Yeah, pipe T. Why? Because T is needs to receive that output, and what is going to do with that? I'm going to redirect to the file and show it on the standard output. Since we just use it, let's take a look. Let's take a look on the password table. You see, it did the same thing. So we got another one, T. So we use cat tac bat split wc head tail column. From the redirections, we use the angle brackets pipe and T. We also use it cut. Oh yes. Let's use another one. We can also sort that. So we got our little password table, but I wanted to see in alphabetical order so I can sort it out. So instead of could I just use the cat and then sort, redirect that, pipe that to the sort command? I could, but that is cat abusing. Do not abuse cat. You can use sort directly here. So I want to sort my password table, and it's going to show me here in alphabetical order. I can change the parameters of the sorting, of course. You see, I have a lot of other information. I can reverse, I can ignore case, I can do a numeric sort if I'm doing something with numbers. I can output that to another file in place. We can just use a generic numeric sort. And I can actually sort not from the first field, but another field. You see that we can use this separator here again and select the key, and we're going to do that sorting. So what do you guys think we should do here to show this guy in a different way? We can, our separator is going to be what? It's going to be space. I'm going to use the actual origin file to do that. So I'm going to sort separator. Now you can do it. Give me options. You see the use of tab? What are the parameters that I can use here? Tab is going to show you. Not for all of the programs, but most of them are going to have this. So I want field separator. That's why it was not working. Field separator. I want it to be column. That it. And I wanted the field, the key field is going to be the third field for etc password. Let's see if it goes. Yeah, the third field is not really that different. Let's use the seventh field. Seventh field is fine. Yeah. You see, bin bash, /bin/bash. They are all here on the top because I'm sorting by the seventh field. Let's see if that works the same way on our password table, but our field separator, it's space. Yeah. No. No, because we have more than one space for that to happen. And that's the point that you see that there's some limitations with just the built-in tools that we have for bash. For something like this, we probably should work with awk. It's going to be a better way to work with this. Yeah, we probably should work with awk. But we got sort, and I'm going to use another one. What do we have here? So we use it sort for, it's going to sort from the first field unless we do something different. If I want something that is like this, and I'm going to redirect, okay, I'm going to create a new table like this. So when I cat new table, is going to be already sorted. It doesn't doesn't require that I do that intermediate file, but I want to show another program that is kind of the opposing to sort, that is shuff. Shuff is going to shuffle my new file, my new table. So you see that it did some randomness, and it, instead of being all sorted out, is not sorted out at all. So it's the opposing for sort is shove. And if I want to take that, I'm going to put this on actually I'm going to add this to the password table a couple times. So when we see the password table again, you see that is now we have a lot of entries repeating because we repeated that a couple times. And that is the moment that we can use, for example, unique. So unique is interesting for other stuff that is not sorting. You're probably going to use sort most of the time to get the result that you want. but we can just display one line, each line once. So we can sort that password table and pipe into unique. It's going to show me just that. When we just have the actual file and we see how many lines we have 108, and for this guy we have wc -l. Oh yes, yeah, now I'm going to use t here. Doesn't have, I have 36, so we eliminated everything that was repeating, that was duplicated. But we can use that with sort using the flag u for sort unique. It's going to do the same thing. If we check how many lines we have 36. But unique shines in different ways. Okay, instead of I want to see just the lines that are, I want to eliminate the duplicated, I can actually count how many I have duplicated for each of the duplicateds. So you see that we have 3 for everyone, basically, because I just got the same output and put it 3 times into the same file. But this is interesting when you want to see top 10, top 3 of something reoccurring in your system. You can we're actually gonna use that more at the end of the challenge to count how many we have for how many IP addresses are trying to get into our server or something like that. So you're going to see with the unique C for counting, that's where unique shines. Sort doesn't really do that much. What sort does is sorting. And that's the beauty of it. Each tool has to do well one thing. It doesn't have to do a bunch of things well. Just do one thing, and you combine different programs, different tools to do a big stuff, something that is more complex than just sorting or just getting the unique. Okay, so far so good. So the opposing for unique is com. Going to select or reject lines common to 2 files. We can compare. Nice, right? So what we got here from our little files, we have, for example, we have my new file. A new table is made from password table, right? So we can compare both of them, password table from new table. And it's going to show me only the things that are not. You see that already? It's saying that file 1 is not in sorted order. So it's kind of difficult to sort it out. But if you have two files and you want to kind of compare, it's different from diff. Okay, it's not like diff. You just want to show the rejected line common to 2 files. Both files must be sorted. Okay, but unique's more unique, and sort u, sort dash u is it's more used, I guess. Never really used com. Diff is a better option. It doesn't have to have 2 files that are sorted. So it's a different feature. Okay, sort, shove, unique, cut. And I think I'm going to leave it at this. So I'm going to get through editing stuff now on the command line. What do you guys think about that? Hmm? So instead of what we have on the challenge for day 6, you see that I just jumped to day 8 and did a bunch of stuff on the command line first, and I did that on purpose. I wanted to show that we can do a lot on the command line, and we're already editing a lot of stuff on the command line. We're just redirecting stuff. We're not really getting the file in editing in itself. We're trying to get bits and pieces and redirecting to different spaces and using different tools to get what we want to filter the raw information, right? And I want to show that first before we go to Vim and the text editor and the in Linux, like in day 6, because that's kind of a progressing um, journey that you get there. You have this bunch of tools that we can do a lot in the command line, but you cannot do all of the things, right? There's stuff that those tools are not able to do. So I'm going to do just a little bit of history on this and show that the first editor, and I'm going to use something that we learned last week. I want an editor. Apropos can give me a list of what what tools or programs are editors, text editors. You see that the first one is ed, or actually it's called ed. Okay, the line-oriented text editor. We have we have EX as well. We have Nano. We have VI. We have Vim. Actually, these three are going to call VI. We're going to call Vim anyways. But before we go to Vim, I wanted to show a little bit of ED and why this is interesting. Okay, because it was the genesis of uh, all of the other text editors. So if we check for the manual for ED, it's going to tell you that's line-oriented text editor. Okay, and doesn't give me too much information, just a little bit of how to call the program, and that's it. You're gonna see much more information on how to deal with add using info add. Okay, so it's going to give you an overview. It's going to introduce to the line editing and how to invoke add and all that. I'm not going to give any spoilers. I'm just showing how to get on the documentation. And one of the interesting things here is add, or ed, was created in a time that you wouldn't really get stuff on the screen to look at. You will have that printed out on paper. So there is let me see if I get that. I do have that here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, I'm going to share the other one about grep that you guys are going to like. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to call grep in a minute. Okay, but when you start it and you just call ed, that's it. What is it? It doesn't give me anything because ed is a command line editor. So if I want to to see anything here. It's not going to even give me a prompt when it started. It's going to be like that, like nothing happened. So you give it, it's just what is happening? If you use H, capital H, I want some help. I want to display what is going on. Okay, invalid address. What? Invalid address. What? It still doesn't give me much information. It's very terse. ED is very terse. But one thing that you have to know to get out of it, just quit with Q and you're back to the command line. Okay, so we can get back to the manual for ED and see, okay, how do I see stuff? One thing that is going to give me is some information already. For VBOS is going to be equivalent of the H, capital H comma. That's what I just did. And if I want a prompt, I can just put a string, or it's going to give me a string, default string for that. So if I start ed and use capital P, okay, it's an asterisk. What now? This is my prompt. Okay, I can use capital H to give me more than just a So valid address. If I try anything else, is not still going to invalid address. Okay, so we got a prompt, and I can change that prompt if I want. I cannot change that interactively because this is the default. But if I get back and I start ed with let's use tab to get something. Nope. What was that? Let's use man again. And ed. Yeah, it was ed prompt, and I'm going to use angle brackets, right? Oh, yeah, I know. I have to put that inside. I'm going to give some space, right? Okay, we got a prompt. And you see that anything else that I try to use here is not going to let me. It's dead terse. Okay, I got a prompt. Now I can start editing stuff, right? So if I want to add or create a file or anything like that, I want to start. This is my initial buffer, so I want to start writing. I can append text, and then it gets out of my prompt. You see, I'm not on the command mode anymore. I'm on an input mode now. And those concepts are important because they are going to be transferred. They are the same concepts that we use in Vim. So I have a prompt and a way to do stuff that is not inputting text into my file or into the buffer. And when I call, for example, a for append, I can start writing. So this is a text. Okay, and what else? More text. How do I get out of this? I use period. This is my current line. That's what period stands for. Is the current line. So it finishes the input mode. And I get back to the prompt. Okay, but can I see what I just write? Yeah, you can use P for print. Okay, more text, but it's not the entire text that I just input there. Again, ed is a line editor. It's going to do stuff by lines. Unless you give the range or the address of that line, is just going to print you the current line. So if I want to see that other line, I was seeing the current line is more text, so I can go back one line, right? So I can go, for example, -1 and print that. So I get to the first or the last line. I can okay, so that's the current line. That's why the period is for the current line again. I can show the current line, or I can see the other line. Let's go down again and print that line. Okay, we got something going on, right? It's still very terse. Doesn't really help at all. But you see that the concepts that we're learning here, they are going to be applied in a way of how you navigate with Vim or VI. Because we use what we use here is a number or a reference in an operation, and we can add a motion to that. So I can, for example, let's input more text. We have just 2 lines of text. That's not so much, so let's put a little bit more. To append, I'm going to append to the end of the file. So if I append again, I can put this right, third line, and if I see that is third line, okay. But I want to put something before my current line. I can use I to input, and I can put here fourth line. Oh yeah, I have to finish. Always use the period to finish. So if I print, but I still just printing one line at a time, and that's not really good. I want to see everything that is from the beginning. Okay, let me just get my notes here, because yeah, I do not use ed that much at all. I want to get everything that is from the first line, this is my range, to the last line, and that is going to be $. First line and last line, and I'm going to print that. And now I have everything. You see, I have to print a range. If I just print the current, I can move between the lines, but it's just going to print one. Just the line that I'm on. Okay, this is not really that good because I want to see the line numbers. Okay, I can do that again. The first line, from the first line to the last line, I want to see line numbers as well. So I'm going to print with the line numbers. So what we did here, when we append something, we are on more text, we put on the third line, and we're on the third line. When we input, we're going to put above that line. It's going to be before that line. So the fourth line actually is the third line. So we can change stuff here, right? We're just moving between the lines and all that. And we use the range, and we can, instead of just using first to last, we can use just the comma, and n is going to do the same thing because it's assumed that it's first and last. If I just want to see the first and the second line, I'm doing a range. If I just want to see the second and the third line, Again, I'm doing the range. If I just do the comma, it's going to assume there's going to be everything. Okay? And if I just want to see how many lines I have, I use equal. Okay, you have 4 lines. We're just using 4 lines here. It's pretty small, so it doesn't seem like should be that complicated for just that few lines. But imagine in 1960 something that you don't have computers that have that much capacity to put stuff on screen. You don't have a display. You have to print stuff out in paper. So yeah, it was a different kind of editing. Okay? So I'm going on and on about this because I want to show a few things. We can write this down as a file. So we can create my ed file. And when I finish writing, it's going to give me, okay, this is the size of the file. So when I'm out of here and I take a look at the actual size of my ed file, you see I have 44 bytes. It's that little. Okay? Just get this. Okay, so let's create, or let's open a new file with ed. I'm going to use ed to test this test file that I have here before, and it does have 796 bytes. It's a little bit more than that. So if I look at it, okay, it's a little poem created by ChatGPT. I just created me a poem for geeks. That's what it did. Okay. With more lines, we can really do what I want to do with ed. Let's see one thing. I want to search, and you see that I got back, and because I didn't put my prompt, it was not automatically. Okay, if I want a prompt, I have to put it here. So I want to search / I want to search for minds. The word minds is going to show me the line that have the word minds in it. I want to search for something that is going to be a little bit more, it's going to repeat a little bit more, okay? So day is going to show me just the first instance that it found this. It's not going to show me all of this. To show me everything, I will have to use the range again. Okay, for case insensitive. So if we want to see, let me see if I can use that here. Yeah, we can do that here. So if I want to search for everything, no. I'm going to do differently. I want to do a global search with a G, and I want to see everything that is day. And it's going to show me all of the occurrences of day inside the file. You see why G is for global? Nice. It's going to give me, the global command is going to search for all occurrences of the word day. And that is the moment that you can, for example, I want to see all of the lines that start let's use here. Let's start. This is a caret that indicates the start of the line. That start with S. AS. Okay, I have two lines that start with AS. I want to see all of the lines that have the word end is going to show me end. But you see that it didn't show me, for example, let me get one here. Didn't show me, for example, this line. It does have an end, but it didn't show me there because it was case sensitive. So I could go like this in two ways, actually. I can use G and case insensitive. See that it showed me a lot more. Or I can use for regular expressions. What we're doing here, when we're checking for patterns in the text, we're using regular expressions. So we can check anything that could start with a capital A or a lowercase a, and its end is going to give me the same result. Okay, it's you see where I'm going with this. I can get that. It's going to print by default. Okay, so I don't have to use G and P, for example, because it's printing by default. But that idea of having a global search, a regular expression, and printing that out, is what gave birth to grep. Actually, Ken Thompson created the grep from ED. So here you go. Right, that was the idea. All of that that little this was a mind exercise because you're not going to use ED on your daily basis. Not at all. I just learned it to show you guys, so you have an idea of how you're not going to use ED at all. But the concepts and the key bindings and all the little the logic that is used for editing is the same that we use, for example, in Vim. So it's going to be a lot easier to get the same idea. For example, if I want to substitute it, and we have another program that we have that. If I can substitute, and I have one of these here. We can substitute. Actually, we're going to use global. And we're going to get dream. I'm not going to use really regular expressions. Now I'm going to get that different. And I want that to be actually, let me see how I can do that. Let's quit that. Let me take a look again at ED. Yeah, the substitute command here, the S command. Come on. Here we can use global arrange some suffixes. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back there. And I want my prompt back because that sucks without a prompt. So I want substitute dream for nightmare. Doesn't understand because I need to. Okay, what are you trying to do? Is not there isn't any dream in this line that I'm on. I could change, for example, future for past and print that is going to substitute future for past. But if I want to do that in the entire program, I have to give a range, right? So I'm going to use as dream nightmare. Let's see if I got it right. I forgot to print, right? Oh. So if I print everything again, here the nightmare where dreams was supposed to be. I can change that again. So the full range, I'm going to substitute nightmare for dream, and I'm going to print that. Okay, got it the line and made the substitution. This is the same idea. This is the same idea behind sad. Sad is this. So if we get out of this, because I did some changes in the files. Oh, okay, you want to quit? Just quit? Yeah, I want to quit. So if I want to do sad, and I'm going to use that TRDR for sad. It's the same idea here. You see that we have S for substitution, you have G for global again. And obviously we have more that we can pull from that, but set is another tool in the command line that we use a lot. So set we can and then we use that little command that we put on ed. It's the same. It's the same. So we can change dream for nightmare, and we want that to be global, and we want that on that little file of ours. And when we print it out, because it's standard, you see here the dream is nightmare again. So instead of using ed to do that, I'm doing that directly from the command line. And it's the same idea when we use grep. Grep was spawned from ed. Grep, we take, I want to see everything that is again, all the lines that have genius in it on that file. Here we go. It was global. Check for the regular expression, or just if I just give the keyword is going to be the same, and the file that I'm looking at, and that's it. So in showing you guys how to use ed, I'm actually just showing how sed and grep came to be, but also how vi or vim came to be, because ed was created from qed, and ed it was then after transformed in em, that was ed for mortals. Then em was created, got more features, and became ex, that was like expanded or extended. And from ex we're starting to have a visual way to edit the files, and that visual was the motion that created vi, because vi was the command used inside ex to get into a visual mode, and that's how vi came to be. And vim is the vi improved. So we have more to that. So if I want to use, again, I can use Vim, or VI is going to call Vim the same way. So if I get for the... No, 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 no. Cancel that. Cancel that. I want to see the version. VI version. Come on. I just wanted to see the version. Oh. Yeah, it is version. VI version. Just show me the version. I'm using VI Improved 8.2. So if I call VI, it's going to call Vim in a way. Okay, it's already here. I got a lot more than I got from ED. I can tell you that. Got me at least some some recommendations of how to exit, for example. It's already here, but it's the same thing. It's going to use... I'm going to end... going to get into the common mode, and then you can see the prompt here on the bottom, and I can use Q to quit. So let's get back here. If I want to start typing, creating a new file, I enter insert mode by typing I. Same idea. Okay, so I can start writing, whatever. To get out of the insert mode, VI Improved or Vim is good because it does give you an indication here on the bottom where the prompt line should be. In which mode are you? If there's nothing here, it's going to be common mode. If we are with an insert, we are insert mode. So if I want to get out of the insert mode, I just use ask, and I'm out of insert mode. And I don't have any more indication here, which means I can start doing command. If I want to write, the same thing that I will use it for ED is going to be W for write, but I don't want to write that. I just want to Q. And because I did edit, I have something on my buffer, I can just Q, and it's going to... Oh, you didn't save your last change. Okay. I can then Q, enforce that Q with a bang, with an exclamation point. I want to quit, and then I'm out. If I want to check that file that we were editing before, to go up and down, we use actually you can use the arrow keys, okay? And I really recommend you, if it's too much to learn, and it is too much to learn, there is some learning curve here, just use the arrow keys. It's not going to kill you. But in a different era where... And I'm going to get this from the actual lesson. If you were... And it was really interesting because I got through a video recently showing how the arrow keys changed through time. And it was amazing how different it was. Let me open this. So if you can use the arrow keys, but let's assure that there was no arrow keys. And in the first terminal computers that were used to work with Vim. So you see any arrow keys? I don't see any arrow keys here. So the actual arrow keys were the H, J, K, L. And I'm going to share this because it was really something different. I like that information. Where is it? My history? I have to share that. Oh. Yes, this one. History of cursor keys. So there wasn't really arrow keys before. So if you want to navigate, you can use J to go down. You can use K to go up. You can use L to go right or H to go left. But if you want to go, that is the interesting part. You can use arrow keys all you want. But if you want to go, for example, I want to go up 3 lines. So up is K, right? So I want to 3K. 3K. Follow the cursor. You can see here. Or I want to go down. Down is J. So I want to 5J. I'm 5 lines down. I want to go 7 characters right. 7L. Choof. You see, I'm just navigating so far, but I can use the other commands. I can, for example, I can delete. I can delete 3 lines. So I want 3. Remember, I have numbers and the operator, and I can do a modifier on that. So 3D. Nope. 3D. Just got 3 lines deleted. If I want to undo that, I can just use U, and I got all my lines back for undo. If I want to copy or yank a line, I can use, for example, I want to copy 2 lines. I want 2Y, and then I want to get back here. You see that 3 lines yanked. I want to go back here, and I want to paste it. So P. You see that I didn't really have to get into insert mode to do that. It's just the command mode. If I want to yank is cut. Yank is copy, actually. If I want to cut, I actually using the delete. It's going to delete, put it on the cut buffer, and then put it back on. You have to paste it somewhere. So if I want to insert, I use I to get into insert mode. But if I want to navigate again, remember that we use it 1, or here we can use. Let me just go more to the center of the line. The positioning for the inside the line, I can use 0 to go to the beginning of the line, or I can use $sign to go to the end of the line. So that same idea that we have on ED, on how to navigate, also checks out. And I want to add at the end of this line. So I'm appending to this line, and I can start writing again. Get ask. Get back to the command line. I can navigate between words. So I'm going word with W. I can go back with B, back. And I'm just showing these examples, but I mean, to start using Vim, you don't have to really know this. You can just use arrow keys, insert, ask, and the good write and quit. And that's it. You don't need more than that. I'm just showing some extras, but that's not really required nowadays to work with Vim. Okay? So I don't want to save this. I want to quit without saving. And that's it. So for the command line and Vim, is there anything else that I need to talk about Vim? Oh yes, and all of the key bindings for Vim. You can check this cheat sheet. We have that on the lesson as well. You see that it really doesn't cover the arrow keys for a reason, because there wasn't arrow keys when this was invented. Or the cursor keys, there was H, J, K, and L to do that. And again, I just showed you guys ED as an historical curiosity, but the same ideas, the same concepts are applied here for sed, for grep, and here for VI and Vim. And then obviously from Vim, we also got Neo Vim. There's a little bit more than that. We have more features. But you're still going to use normal modes or command mode in insert mode. There is the visual mode where you can select things and copy and paste. Nowadays, with using a terminal where you can use the mouse to select stuff, it's not really something that is mind-blowing. You can learn that if you want, but it's not really required. To start using a Vim, you just need to know that. Insert mode, command mode, use the arrow keys, and column, right, and quit. That's it. Any questions about this? Or anything on the command line? We covered a lot. If you guys are good, I'm just going to take a little break. Bio break as well. And I see you guys in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. So you guys have the chance to stretch your legs, drink some water. Okay. So now we got that covered. The command line stuff. So we basically got covered day 6 and day 8. Okay. Now we can go to day 7 and actually start adding, transforming this server into a web server. So let me get back my Linode. Restart is required. Okay. So I'm getting back. And now what we're gonna do, let me see if I have to open up something different here. Saw a question on the Reddit today. I think I'm going to cover this in today's lesson as well. Let's see this. Okay. So let's get back to our instance. If the reboot is done. No, it's not done. I have the chance to ask you guys, how do you feel about day 6 and 8? There's a lot, I know, but it's a lot to also experiment with. So if you have the chance to check out the little comments and try it on your own, if you're brave enough, experiment with ed, see if you can edit a file directly on that. It's going to be kind of a challenge. And I think I have another thing that I want to share from Vim specifically. But that is also into the lesson. So it's going to be on the lesson anyway. Yes, we are done. Okay, we have our little server done. Didn't have the chance to change the host name. Okay, That's what I needed. All right. Let me see. Let's get back to the day 7, and now we're going to install Apache. And that's one of the first things. Your server is just your server, and nothing else is not really available to much more than that, unless you have something that is going to be served there. To we have, for example, SSH server enabled into our little server here. That's how we are able to connect using SSH protocol. And this is the point where I'm going to mix up a little bit with day 9 and the case for the networking, because we're going to use a little on the ports that we have enabled for connection, and the services that we have running into our server are going to be listening to network ports as well. So, but one thing at a time. Let me first get Apache installed. We already have sudo apt update done, so we're up to date, I guess. Yeah, we are up to date, and we can install Apache 2. And yep. So whenever we have our services enabled, like we just installed Apache, we're going to have that listed on our control for those services. We use, for example, Ubuntu, and most of the modern versions of any distribution are going to use systemd. That is the way of controlling the services and all the process inside your server. That was systemv or systemv8 before that. Some particular distros still use that, but you're going to use systemd all around. So we have systemd control, systemd, systemctl, or systemd control, and we want to see the status of the service Apache 2. What did I do wrong? Systemctl, not systemdctl. What am I doing? I'm already tired, sorry. So we have here the information. We have Apache 2 service, that is the Apache HTTP server. It is loaded, it is enabled, it is active and running. Okay, so what can we do with this? We can get the actual IP address from this guy. This is the this is the public IP address, I guess. Yes, it is our public IP address, and we can just put it here. Let me just put it here, and we can put that on a browser. You see, 173.223.135.119. This is the IP address for my Apache server. So now my my humble server is also a web server. So if I stop the service for Apache, systemctl stop Apache 2, Apache 2, not 1, Apache 2. If I stop the service and I try to reload the page, I no longer have a page. If I start service and reload the page, here we go. So in the most basic of things, we're going to see that that page being served by the Apache service, and we can change that. For Apache in specific, we are going to change, and now we're going to use Vim. We're going to change var www html index.html. This is that page. Okay, and one little trick for VI that I didn't talk about, if I want to clear this entire file, I can just use D and G. That is going to the end of the file, so no lines in buffer. Nice. And I can start inserting things. So I'm not really going to put any tags of HTML. I'm going to be pretty bland with this. This works. And that's it. Yes, I can. Why I can. Let's try it again. Because I'm read-only. Of course. Yes, one thing. You see it here, down here, is read-only. Why is read-only? Because I don't have the right permissions to deal with this. So I have to use sudo. And now it's not read-only. Okay, so now I can do a DG. Clear everything. This works. And save. So I just changed the HTML index, that splash screen. Is it going to update here? Yes, it's going to update. Here you go. This works. So if I want to see anything that happens on the log for that, I can check out. Let's use ls /var/log Apache 2. And what else we have here? Do I have anything here? Access log. Yeah, I know what's going on here. Let's go there. cd var log Apache 2. Yes, permission denied. Let's do that with sudo. Oh gosh, I want to use sudo sudo less var log Apache 2 and access log. Here we go. We can see the actual access, what is going on, who's accessing my server at this moment. If I want to see anything like let's do var log Apache 2. What do we have inside? Oh, Jesus. You know what? Var log dog Apache 2. Okay, now you can do it. Thank you. You got access log, you got error log, we got other vhost access. What you're going to look at mostly is access log and error log. Let's see what if you have any errors. Okay. Nothing that interesting. Let's see what else. We changed. Ah yes, we can also see this guy as a process, our process list. So if you use PS, PS stands no info PS. The report snapshot of the current processes. You can see all the processes that are running right now. So if I just use PS, it's not going to give me that much information, but if I do all of that, I can see my SSHD running. And let me see if I can get any information on Apache. Grep Apache. And we have Apache also running. You see that we have www data. And that's going for the cache. And we also have the actual Apache 2 start here being done. Okay, so we can see two ways. We can see the self, it's a unit. We can see that with systemctl. Susdo não. Systemctl is going to show me all the units, all the services that we have running. Okay. Including Apache. Come on, how not? Yes. Including Apache. Or you can specify that directly. I want to see the status of Apache 2. Okay, so you can see here the slices. These are the processes that we see on the PS. And we see it here. Those are these guys. You see? 2884, 2085, 2086. So here what I'm trying to show is two things that you're going to see. One of the service, that is something that is being served into your machine. And Apache as being as a web server, it's one of them. We have also SSHD that is serving SSH connections. And we have the actual processes that run for that. And that doesn't require that it's going to be a service. It could be anything. So if I have any other process running at the moment, one of the things that is running right now is actually bash. That is my shell. This is one of the processes that is running. So you have an ID for that process, and you have it's this difference, the difference of working directly on the process level and on the service level. Service is going to use processes to actually run, but a process does not really require a service to exist. Okay, so if I wanted to clear something out here, I could just kill one of the processes. It's the same thing that we use on Windows, for example, when we have the task manager. This is what I'm seeing here is kind of a task manager. Okay, so if I wanted to kill or terminate a process that is consuming too much CPU or memory, or if it's doing something wrong, I could just directly kill that process. But if we're working with services, we're going to do everything with the systemctl mostly. So if you want to start, stop, reload the configuration, it's going to be that way. Okay, so we got the our web server running. It's done. It's that simple. Obviously, you can tweak some of the configuration for that, and but I'm not going to really get into it. What we're going to look actually is the network part of it, because I noticed some. There was a question on Reddit today that I wanted to address. For example, I got HTTP or Apache listening to the HTTP port, the network port that is assigned by default for HTTP. So we can use the command ss for sockets. I, I have the actual description for that. How does it not have? Ah, yes, because I do not have TLDR here. This is a shame. We have to have that, please, and thank you. Ah, yes, yes, yes. LDR update. Dash B. Yes, the LDR. Now we're back. So we're going to investigate some sockets, and I wanted to see what I'm listening on TCP ports. Okay, so we have SSH, which is expected. Already have that. We are listening, and we can also change one little thing here is n. I guess it's yes. When I get the number of the port with the flag n, we can see the number of the port. Here we see the service. Okay, we have the HTTP service, and it's on port 80. So we are listening on port 80. But for that to happen, we have to actually have that port enabled. So it is enabled. By now, we don't have any rules denying access to that port, so we have the port. Okay. One other thing that we can use, SS is one of the little commands that we can use to check on the network ports, the socket status. There was netstat before that, but it's being deprecated. I do not think that they are available. No, they are not. So socket status. You can also use IP address. That was the first thing that I used it. I didn't even mention the IP command. The LDR IP command have many applications, and it's everything that we can use to check on the IP addressing. we can see the list of interfaces with the detail info for the address. And that's why I notice what is the IP address of my server, so I can put that on my browser to connect to. That's the guy. So I use an IP address. And this is my loopback IP address, which is just me to me. It's not really something for the outside world. And this is my public IP address. Okay, something that I'm going to connect over the internet. So I use that, and my server is listening on ports 22, 53 for domain, but it's not really for outside, it's just local, and port 80 for HTTP. Okay, if I want a little bit different, I can use, let's see if I have any map already. No. So let's sudo apt install and map. This is going to give me a little tool that's going to map on my network. So nmap, I have a lot of stuff that I can use, but if I just scan my local host, that is me, it's going to show me the port that I have open. I have 22 port TCP that is open for the service SSH, and I have port 80 TCP open for HTTP. One little thing that is going to happen, and I want to address this, if you're using a server that is on the AWS, you have to check your security groups. I do not have one here for that, but if you check on your security group for your instance, you're gonna notice that at the moment that you created your instance, it could have only access to SSH. So if you're changed according to the extension that we have on the 3, I guess 203, saying that you can secure your SSH connection if you change your default SSH port to a different number from 22. If you do that, you are not gonna be able to connect back if you do not change the port range here. So if you have to edit inbound rules, you're going to add a custom TCP rule and add that port. Or in the case now that we are opening our port for a connection on port 80, you have to actually add a HTTP rule. It's going to be TCP port range is 80. You can put here to anywhere the same thing, so you'll be able to receive connections from whatever. Okay, so if you're using AWS, an AWS instance, and for some reason I'm not seeing my where is it? Did I just change it here? Where is it? Yeah. Here we go. And you're not seeing your splash page for your server, you're not able to connect on the browser. It's probably because you don't have port 80 open on your security group. Okay, so go back to your instance and check the security group and add that rule and save that rule. Okay, if you change the port for the SSH connection, you're not going to be able to get back, so please change that to the port that you modified on your SSHD connection or SSHD config. All right. So with that information, we can go to the next step. That will be, okay, we're talking about network. We just install nmap just to have a little bit more information. and we can actually deny um, connections using a firewall. The main firewall in Linux is IP tables, but there is kind of an interface that is uncomplicated. That's the name that they gave that tool, is uncomplicated firewall. That is the UFW. Okay, so you can enable, disable the actual firewall, and you can allow or deny access to ports and services. You can use that with the actual service, the actual port, the protocol. Um, you can use for IPv4 or IPv6, and you can add and delete rules. One thing that I have to mention, and this is important, okay? Whenever you do not, uh, if you do not allow something that you're already using in the rule, it's going to deny it by default. So for example, we're going to do what we have on the challenge. So we're going to install apt install ufw. It's already installed. Yeah, it's already installed. And now we can check sudo ufw status is inactive. So we don't have anything. The firewall is not up, it's not running. Okay, so for that service, the firewall sudo systemctl status ufw is active, but it's not really running yet. It's exit. You see, it's not running. You have that installed, but it's doing nothing yet. I do not haven't enabled yet. So let's do that. Before we enabled, we have to add the rules. So when we enable, we have the rules running. So let's use, for example, UFW. We're going to deny HTTP, for example. We added a rule, but do not forget, this is going to be important. You're going to shoot yourself out of the server if you don't do that. Okay, so sudo ufw allow. You have to explicitly allow your SSH connection. So we're going to sudo ufw allow SSH. So now that we have that, because again, if you do not allow explicitly, it's going to deny by default. So now sudo ufw enable. Command may disrupt existing. Yes. The moment that you what is going on? SSS. I want to see who's listening. TCP ports numbers. I'm still listening. Okay. Everything is going to be like that. And if we check the status for the service of this, still there for some reason. Okay, we're enabled. Let's see what happened. Remember, this guy is a connection to the port 80 HTTP. Let's try to connect again. So it's not going. We can also check on the IP tables. You see that is not going. Still spinning, still spinning. It's denying. We can see that. And let's take a look at the IP tables. That is the actual firewall that is running underneath the UFW. IP tables. Let's check the listening. Okay. Ooh. Okay. One difference. To see the block. Okay, we are logging with that's why we have an uh uncomplicated firewall over this. It's not as easy to check. There's obviously we have filters, but okay, where's the drop? Where's the drop? Okay, we have a UFD block. Nothing logging. Okay, okay. Where's the drop? Ba, 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 ba. Right here. We have a drop here. To what? Accepting some stuff. Reject. Limit. This is not what I was looking for. IP tables. Pen, delete, save, or change. See the actual drop. Yeah, we have the drop here for HTTP. Dropping anywhere, and you see the accept for SSH. That is crucial. If we did not explicitly allow SSH connections, we will be kicked out of the server. Okay, so if I get back there, yes, I am rejected. I cannot connect. So to get that back on, I have to change the rule. So UFW allow HTTP and sudo UFW. What are my options? We can reload the firewall, so we upload or we update the rules that we just changed, and now we can try it again, and it's instantaneous. Okay, so two things about network that is interesting that we know for the challenge, and that's going to be the most basic thing, is if you're going to deal with ports that are where services are being served, like HTTP is the port 80 that Apache is going to use to serve the web page, you have to have that port open and listening in the actual server. Right here. And if you're using AWS specifically, I guess we have that also with Azure and GCP. You have to have to open or allow the connections to that port on the security rules. Okay, this is another layer of security, so doesn't matter. Oh, thanks for the following tantamounts. Appreciate it. So if you're having other services that use other ports, you're gonna see that on the actual manual for the program that you're using. For example, if you want to install MySQL or Postgre or another database or anything like that, is going to be served on a port specifically. If I'm not mistaken, MySQL is 360 or a 3360. And Postgre, I know that is 5432. You have to open that port here. You have to open that on the security rules. Okay. Uh, for example, here, MySQL, it's 3306. I'm almost got it. All the numbers were there. Postgre, yeah, that I know. 5432 is going to open that TCP port. If you open inside the server, but you do not open on the inbound rules for security rules in AWS, you're going to do troubleshooting after troubleshooting. You're going to bash your head around trying to understand why it's not connecting, and it's because of this. Okay, so if you're using one of the big ones, the big VPSs, AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle, if something is not really connecting, check if there isn't another layer of security, a security group, or a security rules or firewall rules or anything like that on your instance. If that is not allowed, explicitly allowed, is not going to let that through. Okay, with or without UFW open. So we check that. We can disable UFW if you don't want to use it anymore. So we're not going to have the running UFW disable. And that's it. We just stop it firewall, and it's not going to be open on system startup as well. But you can, I'm just using allow and deny, which is pretty black and white. But you can allow just a range of IP addresses. You can enable or you can deny for a specific parameter. So here for HRDR, UFW, you see that we have other options. You can allow only traffic from a specific address to the host. This is particularly important for the SSH connection. If you don't want anyone else trying to get into your server using SSH, you can restrict the connection to the port to only your IP address. Okay, you can do that. You can deny all traffic for port 80. That's what we did. Or HTTP, that is the service for that port. You see that I can use service or you can use the port number. It works the same. You can use a port range. You want to deny traffic to all ports between something and something. Yeah, you can also identify, put a comment on a specific port for the service. This this is going to be Postgres, but if you can use for other stuff if you don't have Postgres running, and you can set the rules and enable, disable, and all that. And let me see if there's anything else. That's pretty much it. That's the main thing that you're gonna need as a first step to dealing with the network on your server. Is going to be, okay, I have the traffic allowed or denied. And if you're using a web server, you probably want to have port 80 wide open for everyone, for all ranges. That's what it's doing, open all traffic. But for SSH, You can go back to day 3 or day 0 and 1 when you talk about SSH a lot and how you can configure and actually harden the server to avoid any unsolicited attempts to connect. You can restrict only your IP address to connect. You can restrict by changing the SSH default port to a different port that is not 28, 22. Okay, you can change to another port, a random port, because we know this the default SSH port is 22. So everyone's going to try it on port 22. If you want to kind of mask, I don't have an SSH port by not using SSH port on 22. You can try to do that as well. Um, but that is one little thing that you can do on the network for your server. Okay, so we got that. What else? Did I miss anything on this? We got SS and map IP. We give it a shout out to IP tables and use it UFW. Quite simple. My recommendation is if you don't know what to put on your rules, don't use it. Okay? It's sometimes it's better, especially if you're using AWS, Azure, all of one of those VPSs to do that on the level of the VPS. So go to the actual dashboard for your instance. You're going to see things there on how to block access for specific kinds of access or specific ports or specific services. Okay. But this is pretty simple. You can try that. Uh, unless you forget to allow SSH connection, you're going to be kicked out. So that's that. But besides that little the detail, um, we're not going too crazy here. It's just allowing denying access to one or another port. Okay. And for the part of the day 7 or having your web server running, I'm using Apache here, but you can try Nginx. It's going to work very similarly. And you can try to serve different, that is going to be on the manual for Apache 2. Let's see if we have the manual. You're going to see on the manual for the web server that you're using. Okay, we have a little bit here, but let me see if I have on info. Yeah, we do. It's the actual man. And obviously, you can go back to, let's see, Apache to manual. Server documentation. I want to see what I can do with Apache. And here we go. Getting started. Configuration files. How can I change stuff in there? This is a whole new challenge. Okay, I'm just giving you the basic tools to make this work. But this is a thing on its own. Okay. And what else we have for today? I think we got a little bit of time for day 10. Let's see, day 10. Yeah, cron jobs. Yes, one of the things here that they're interesting. Actually, I want to talk about cron jobs when I'm talking about journaling. I don't want to do that right now. What do you guys think? Give me some feedback. Do you want to talk about cron jobs now, or you want to do that next week? Okay, let's do next week. Thanks, Eradicator. Nice nickname. Like that. Okay then. I got you guys a lot to work on. All right. We got most of the week already covered. What I wanted to really go on more was the command line tools, and that in itself is already something that is going to give you a lot to mess with. So if you're not familiar yet with Vim, try to use that. I know Nano is a little bit easier to use. You see, you can start, you open it, you can start already typing, and you can save with Control O. Let's use Control O. You can already give a name for that. And you roll the line. You can exit with Control X. And here you got your file Nano. And that's it. It's a lot more intuitive than Vim. I know that. If you want to keep using Nano, good for you. Nano is not going to be installed in all servers that you may encounter. Okay, so if you have something in production, it's much more likely it's going to have VI or Vim than Nano. Okay, if you have Nano, good, fine. But if you don't, and if for some policy you cannot install new programs on that production server, you're going to have to stick with Vim. So that's why we always teach Vim, even if it's just a little, because you have to know the bare basics to work when you don't have other option. Okay. And there's no flame wars in the system admin world because we don't really use Emacs in the services. We're not really programming that much. And if you like Emacs, you can always install if you have the policy to do it, but it's not a standard. You're going to see Vim more than anything else. But one thing that you will use for sure is grep. So the other little tools like cut, sort, cat, head, tail, echo, you're going to use all of that. And grep for sure you're going to use it. So if you have to pick one thing that you have to spend a little bit more time, pick grep. It's going to be something that is going to shine on your work, on your toolbox. It's really a good one. Okay. So I'm not going to extend too much. Just wanted to point some things out. I hope you guys have a great Mother's Day. And a great week. So we can see each other again on the Sunday of the next week. I'm going to get back to Sunday, okay? It was just for for the Mother's Day. But I really appreciate your being with me, even with the change. And thank you so much. And see you guys next week. Bye bye.